control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal Night Terrors. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. I'm here to entertain you. And I hope you are entertainable, because that makes my job a hell of a lot easier. If you're not entertainable, then, I don't know, it's pretty uphill for me. But hope you're having a good day. Thanks for coming on to the show and being a part of it and hanging out with me here on my lonely little corner of the internet. But you guys make it all warm and fuzzy, and I appreciate that. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out with me. I see there's already bunches of you coming in, and the numbers are coming in faster and faster. It's really amazing. I'm a little, I don't know, I'm not really under the weather, but I'm really feeling funky tonight. So you'll have to forgive me. I don't know, I'm just a little disheveled. And I think it's just because I've been running so hard for so long. I'm just kind of burning fumes here. I don't know. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. But I know that doing the portal always brings me back to life. It's a big part of my days, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all you guys being here. And thank you so much. The phone lines will be open throughout the course of the show tonight. If you have something paranormal you'd love to share, I'd love to hear about it. So you can call in 720-923-0500. Had a great discussion with a gentleman by the name of Glenn today, and we did a podcast. It was a good time. We recorded one that'll be coming up in the near future. I'm not sure exactly when. It'll be probably Monday next week, I think. But that'll be a great show. It was a lot of fun to listen to, a lot of fun to record. He's just had such a spectrum of things, and it was just an incredible discussion. The things that he's experienced. I mean, he's hitting all the major cylinders on that engine block. I'm telling you, he's had the spiritual stuff. He's had the UFO stuff. He had a Bigfoot encounter. It's just amazing the amount of things he's experienced. Demonic stuff, really creepy stuff there, but pretty crazy. We had a good discussion all the way through, and I hope you'll check out that podcast when it's released into the wilds of the internet. But anyway, thank you all for being here, and I guess without more delay, I'll just launch the show. It's time for bed. Time to get to work, ladies and gentlemen. Time to punch the clock here on the Paranormal Portal. All right, so let's get started. I got some stories to hopefully keep you well entertained throughout the course of our journey tonight. So if you do not find that you are thoroughly entertained, please exit the channel and remove your subscription. I don't know. I hope you don't. I hope you bring more friends into the fray. It's always fantastic to come in every morning and look and see what's been happening overnight. In the few hours I manage to sleep each night, I come back in and I'm always running and looking at the numbers, and it's really exciting because I see a lot of change happening, and it's good change, the kind that makes me smile. And, more people are finding the show, more people are subscribing and becoming a part of it. A lot of emails lately. It's just been really neat. It's absolutely humbling to hear, how the show affects so many people, and that's, I don't know what to do with that. I'm just an idiot with a microphone, and then to get these emails about how, oh, the show is so great and it's been an amazing thing, and it's like, wow, what? It just boggles my imagination, but it's cool. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it, but I just, I don't know, it's it's so unusual, but it's really neat to be doing something that matters to so many people. So thank you all for all the love you've shown me, and Don as well, as we've been doing the shows, and it's just been really cool. But thank you for all the messages and emails, and people reaching out. It's just been a lot of fun to get a chance to talk to you guys as you do that. So the first story tonight is coming from Kentucky, home of the greatest chicken ever. No, I think it was the greatest chicken ever. I don't know if it still is, but there's no KFC around here anymore. I don't know what the hell it tastes like anymore, but I remember I used to love it. But I don't know if they've held true to their roots or not. But the Colonel used to throw down some serious chicken back in the day. All right. It was 1999, and I was moving out of a friend's house, and after I'd been there for about 4 months or so, I found a beautiful home for rent in one of the more prominent areas around here. I took my fiance, and we both went to look at the house and agreed this was the one. My first encounter, I should say, was just a feeling of being scared to death. I was waiting on the phone company to put in some phone jacks, and it was a very old house, and out of 3 floors, only one jack in the whole house. Yeah, that'll get you running. Needless to say, when they got there and finished, I sat outside waiting for a friend to bring my car back that she had borrowed, and she wanted to know why I was outside. I just said something felt wrong in the house, and I wasn't sure why I had that feeling, but she said it was probably just old, and me being there alone was what made me feel that way. Well, I thought so too and went with it. But 2 days later, I went back because the landlord was finishing up with some electrical work he and another guy were doing, and I asked him if the house was haunted. And he looked at the other guy and then at me and said, why do you ask? That's not the response you want. And I said, because I just got a weird feeling in there the other day, and he said he hadn't heard anything, so I assumed I was just being crazy. The first night I stayed in the house was something of an adventure. My daughter was 9 and my son was about 18 months old, and they both slept with me at the time. And we were both asleep. They were both asleep. And I finally turned over and turned out the light, and all of a sudden I started hearing footsteps upstairs. Let me give you the layout of the house. It had 2 floors and a full-size basement, which I made into a bedroom, and I had a king-size waterbed, and in front of the sectional couch, and a 58-inch big screen in front of that, and a tanning bed at the left of the TV, and then beside the couch was a computer desk with a door that opened about 10 feet, about a 10-foot and then drop or so, and my landlord was supposed to put a deck in for me. Well, anyways, I went upstairs to check and see who was in the living room. It was all dark, and I found nothing out of place, and all the doors were locked, so I went back downstairs to sleep, and around midnight or so, I heard something coming down my stairs, which is about 15 straight down. I sat up to see a man. Now, I'm not going to say I was awake. To this day, I'm really not sure if that was or what that was, but I yelled and told him he couldn't be here, and I know he was a ghost, and he bowed his head and told me he was sorry and started for the stairs. And I said, "Stop, this is your house too, but please don't scare me or my children again." He shook his head and said, "Miss, I didn't mean to scare you. I was just kidding you a bit. I won't cause you any more troubles." I asked him his name, and he told me Elwood Hart, which, believe it or not, Hart, H-A-R-T, is my son's middle name. A few days later, we researched the house, and there was a man named Elwood Hart that used to live there. He was the owner prior to the landlord. And a few days later, my friend had let me stay with her, got put out of her house, so she moved in with me, and this is when things started getting a little freaky. One night, my friend, who from this point on I shall call Barb, and fiance James and his brother Pee-wee, sorry, Pee Wee Herman, of course, ladies and gentlemen. Thought we would party a little bit, and we were all feeling no pain, and all of a sudden, we heard this noise that sounded like my big screen TV had been thrown to the floor. Well, both guys ran up the stairs from my bedroom, and to their shock, nothing was wrong with the house. Everything was still intact, and the doors are all locked. They came downstairs and pretty freaked out, to say the least. From there, little things that started to happen, like the radio is on the top floor in my daughter's room, came on and started changing stations. I told Alex to go up to her room and turn it off, and she looked at me in a panic and said, "No way." And then I looked at Barb and said, "Would you go turn up there and turn it off?" And she said no. So then I said, "Fine, I'll do it, but you all are coming with me." Well, I unplugged the radio and nothing else happened at that time. Like I said, little things. I don't think that's a little thing, but then out of nowhere, it all started to happen at once. One night, my son Hart needed a bottle, and I got up to fix it, and I heard Barb come up the steps from my bedroom in the basement, and she said, "Don't worry about going into work because it's snowing big time." Well, I was working as a substitute teacher at the time, and I looked out the main door, and sure enough, it was not looking like I'd be going to work the next morning. Well, anyone that knows me knows I'm freaky when it comes to locking my doors, and I have to have the deadbolt locked before I go to bed. Well, anyway, it was about 4 a.m., and all of a sudden the main door swings back and hits the big screen TV. I was sleeping on the couch just because that's where Hart and I fell asleep, and I jumped up and said a few choice words and then shut and locked the deadbolt again. I lay back down and said out loud, "If it happens again, I'm leaving." Everything was quiet for the rest of the night. Well, I guess I'll stop there. If anyone wants me to finish, just let me know. I'm new to this. And so much happened. It's quite a story. That is a lot of a story. Very strange stuff for sure. Wowza. The refreshing zing of natural spring water in a plastic bottle. Just like Mom used to make. So, yeah, that's a good story. I think they've got some talking to do with their spirit, or they got some kicking out to do, or they got to move. One of the two, one of the three, whatever the hell, how many I counted out. I'm just looking at the chat here. What am I missing? Anything? Oh, I'm on the wrong thing here. How many of you come in? 47 of you are here. Lovely. Good to see you all. Thanks for coming in and being a part of the show. Even those who are chatting and those who are sitting quietly listening, you're all welcome. And thank you so much. Make sure to give it a like, though, if you would, please. I hope you like what you're hearing. But it definitely helps us in our endeavors to widen the gap or widen the reach of the Paranormal Portal. God, I just don't feel right tonight. Ugh. I don't like it when I get a little buggy, and I don't think it's anything that's like a bug. Speaking of a little bug, there's like a little fruit fly in front of me. But I eat a lot of bananas, so you know. I just don't like I don't think anybody likes it, of course, but I don't know. It's just really crampy and yucky, so. I'm doing my best, though, because I can't really miss these shows. I can't miss doing it. Okay, this one's the next one. It's coming from Alabama. It says, in the comments on my last occurrence, I said that I'm thick-headed and sometimes all of the time, and needed a sledgehammer dropped on my head instead of a subtle clues to get the gist of messages. And this was in response to my father appearing to me last month. I was trying to figure out why, after all these years, he would, and I found out. After my father passed away, my mom moved in with my older sister, and this at past October of 2007, my mother's health took a drastic turn for the worse. She was diagnosed with lymphoma and fought a losing battle that lasted until this past Tuesday, 9/15 of 2008. And I now believe that my father came to let me know that he was here to take her from her pain. My parents were married for 51 years, and until that day, she lapsed into a coma. My mother said it wasn't enough time. And I'm sad that she's gone, and I'm glad my father came for her. And I know that they are together again and happy. My sister's youngest daughter's birthday, is the day my mother passed away. So was so upset. She was so upset. She kept saying, she's not supposed to die. It's my birthday. And the only thing that comforted her was when my sister told her that we would celebrate her birthday and the fact that Granddaddy and Grandmama were together again and happy. My youngest, 4 years old, keeps asking if Grandmama is going to be dead forever and ever. And my oldest, 14-year-old, is still devastated by her passing. And I sort of wish my father would have prepared them, though it might have scared them to see Granddaddy. While I'm glad to have seen my father again, I still wish I was sensitive enough to have asked him all of the questions that I have. My father was a very good person who loved us all, and he had to work 2 or 3 jobs, full and part-time, just to support us. So I never really had the opportunity to get to know my dad. He was a career military and retired shortly after my mom had my middle sister, and that's when he had to work all those hours to provide for all 3 kids and my mom. I just wish I could find out more about him and his time in the military so I could have something to tell my kids, especially the youngest 2. Thank you to all who posted the comments. I can't begin to tell you how grateful I am and how much you all have helped me. God bless. I don't know. It's a neat story. I think it's great when the loved ones of people that are passing, who've already passed, come back to help their loved ones across. I think that's beautiful. I hope that happens all the time. I think that would be a wonderful thing, and it would certainly make that transition a lot smoother. If you look up and you're like, oh, Uncle Pete, hey, good to see ya, and to make that transition so much easier. So I hope that that's the case for most of us. I think that it can be pretty scary, I think, looking at your last moments, not sure what you're going to be facing. The cool stories, I think, are the ones where not only do the people come, but the person who's passing can actually see them in a lot of cases and knows that they're there and talks to them. In many cases we've read here on the show, the people that are terminal seem to be transitioning to a spirit awareness ahead of their body actually passing completely. And they'll say, they'll be talking to people that are not in the room according to anybody else. So I think that's really cool and very powerful. And it's certainly a wonderful thing because, the whole big question mark around dying, I think it's a scary thing for us. It's like, what does it mean? What happens? Where do we go? What's going on? We can't see, and we can't really know. We have these ideas of faith. We have these ideas of hope, and we have these ideas of what we believe. But, who really knows? Nobody really knows except those that have had NDEs, near-death experiences, I think are the most powerful testaments about what happens next. Those people that have transitioned and then come back and they're like, wow, you won't believe what I saw. And they have these a lot of times have amazing experiences of being connected in such a way that they're full of peace and love and joy and this completion, and then in many cases, those people don't want to come back. They're like, no, I don't want to go. I want to stay here. It's like, no, it's not your time yet. And and back they come, but they at least, and I think the reason that they come back and that they have these experiences is kind of a signpost for the rest of us. Like, it's kind of a comforting message, I think, because that's the one journey we're all going to take, right? We're all going to make that journey through the door, and it doesn't pay to be afraid of it. So it's kind of neat that there are so many people who have transitioned and come back and have these wonderful stories to share. It's very calming, I think. For me, it's very calming, especially the work that Raymond Moody did with children. He used to work with young children that don't have the preconceived notions of a religion or dogma or anything. They don't have those things because there'd be little young children, like, around the ages of 5 years old, having these, being dead, clinically dead, and then coming back and having these experiences. They talk about seeing their body and seeing the people working around them, seeing their worried parents in another room or in the same room, or people that their siblings, they have stories about their siblings. Then they go through this tunnel and they're in this amazing place, and then they come back. And those are about the most pure stories we could hope for, because it seems to me to suggest, the continuity of life. And if we are indeed energy, then it stands to reason that the energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It simply changes form. So that's our conscious energy changing form out of this shell and into a universal shell, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it after that, but yeah, instant pain relief. You're right, Bomber. That's exactly right. Justin Langton's waiting for The Witcher. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like it might be okay. I don't know. I don't really enjoy movies as much as I used to. I love to go to the movies, and I used to go to the movies all the time with my older kids. It was just something we always did. But I don't know what's changed for me, but maybe it's something. But I go to the movies now, and I'm looking for that same magic that used to transport me when I was younger, and I don't seem to go anywhere. I'm just looking at these things happening on the screen, and I don't know if the writing's gotten worse or if the effects are just too real or too fake, or maybe because they're so real they're fake. I don't know, but I just don't get to that magical place as much anymore, and it's really kind of frustrating. I love to suspend reality when I go to the movies. I love to go to movies that are just way out there. Witcher is a TV series. Oh, Witcher is? Oh, I was thinking of, what the hell am I thinking of? The one that's Calville. Henry Calville plays the blonde-haired guy. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of something else. But it's like a warrior kind of thing. I don't know what Witcher is, though. Okay. Well, cool. Maybe I'll have to check it out. I don't have TV, though, anymore, do I? No, I don't. So if it's not on Prime or Netflix, I'm not going to end up seeing it, I'm afraid. Well, if that's it, so the one I'm talking about is a movie, though. It's not a TV thing, is it? I don't believe it is. It's on Netflix. Okay, well, cool. Yeah, I can check that out for sure. I've never read the Witcher books, but I'm familiar with that lore, the concept behind it to a degree. But I think it should be good. It's an 8-episode show. Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, if it's on Netflix, yeah, I'll check it out. I can do that. The one that I just had a talk today with a friend, and this isn't paranormal related at all, but he said, "Have you seen The Mandalorian?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have the Disney app or anything." He's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "It is so great." He's like, "It's a combination between Tombstone and Star Wars or something." I mean, it's just, I can't remember the other thing that he compared it to, but Tombstone is my all-time favorite movie. Literally, it's like one of my all-time favorites. So when he said that, I was like, "Oh, really?" I'm gonna have to check it out, but I don't have that Disney Plus, so I know I could sign up for a free trial or whatever. But the problem with those free trials is that I always forget when they end, and then I end up getting charged for them. So, yeah. But no, I've heard that The Mandalorian is amazing. People are really, really excited about it, and it sounds amazing. So, I have not seen that, though. Cha-Cha comes in with a big WTF. All right, so back to the stories, huh? What are we talking about TV here, huh? I don't pay attention to the chat too much, and I guess that's why, because I end up talking about all kinds of other things. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this is a paranormal portal. So I should make it paranormal, shouldn't I? But the Witcher series is pretty paranormal, in a supernatural kind of way. Like Supernatural, the series, it's kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or what the hell was that show? Charmed. You can't watch those shows and get any kind of real understanding, supernatural or anything like that. You can't get any real understanding of true paranormal belief, but you can get some pretty cool legendary references that I think are kind of fun. Like, I love the show Supernatural. I really do. I've watched every season of it, had a good time with it. Yeah, I I really miss the Crowley character the most. I think he was the greatest. He really made that show and created that really unusual thing. Oh wow, MCAT. Thank you, brother. Woo! For Disney Plus. Oh shoot. All right. Yes, sir. I'll get Disney Plus then. I love you, brother. You're the greatest. I appreciate that. Oh wow. Yeah, no, I forgot what the hell I was saying though. That big purple banner came up and scared me. No, I'm just kidding. It was beautiful. It's a beautiful like an early sunrise. That red breaking the surface of the blackness. All right, so the next story's coming from Oregon. Okay, so this one says, "Hey everyone, I'm back with another experience. This isn't about my beastly visitors, but about a dear friend of mine. It actually says dear fiend of mine, but I think he means friend. About a month ago, one of my best friends, Jasmine, my sister from another mother, died of cancer. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a shock to everyone, and she had just gotten married and lived a beautiful life. Her brown hair and green eyes reminded me of being out in the woods where the trees were dark and green and brown, but God had decided it was her time. When she had died, I was in the process of moving out of my father's home and into an apartment that my friend and I share. After Jazz died, I became well depressed. I do the same thing over and over and over. Get up, go to my classes, go to work, come home and sleep. And I started to dream of her, and it really bothered me. I'd wake up crying and wishing that the dream would just stop because it caused me so much pain. Then about 2 weeks later, I woke up and walked into the kitchen. I opened the fridge and pulled out the milk for a cereal and closed it. And on our fridge, we have the ABC magnets. You know, the ones where you can spell things out. Well, the magnets spelled out Jazzykins. Well, I used to call Jasmine that. I got upset and stormed into my roommate's room and asked him why he had done that. He said he didn't do anything, and I didn't believe him and left for my classes. When I had gotten home that night from work, I walked into my room to see pictures of me and Jazz all over the place, and I was furious this time. When my roommate got home, I screamed at him and told him he needed to knock off whatever the hell he was doing because it was really hurting me. And again, he denied that it was him, and he sat me down and convinced me that it wasn't him doing anything. Well, I believed him this time, but I was curious as to what was going on. And later that night I couldn't sleep, so I turned on the radio. We had a song that we would sing together in the car, and it was our jam, so to say, and I turned on the radio, and it was playing. I got it then. Do you think it was her telling me goodbye, or was it just a coincidence? Again, I appreciate that people are skeptical and have trouble getting beyond things, but when you're presented with so much blatant evidence, I mean, it's more weird to me not to acknowledge what you're seeing and experiencing than to, continue to question it. At some point, it's like you're asking somebody else permission to believe, and it's like, you can't do that. You got to come to your own determinations. But, I feel bad for that roommate, man. That dude got brutalized. It's tough. Whenever someone's grieving, it's such a tough thing. Now then, let me go down. Good Lord, there we are. Pull up a few more. Okay, and this one's coming from Arizona. Let me look at the clock here. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. My energy is just so low tonight. I'm just kind of in a whiny place. So I do apologize because I don't have as much to give you guys tonight, and I can feel I'm just dragging my tail through the show. So I'm hoping it's going okay, but I'm telling you, it's I want to be curled up in the fetal position, I think. I'd like to start off by saying that this is the only one of many experiences I've had and would greatly appreciate any feedback. This happened about 14 years ago. I was 16 and pregnant and going through a tough time. I'd always seen shadow people, ghosts, demons, or whatever they're called. And this particular time in my life It was a lady in white. She seemed to watch over me when I was asleep, and this happened during the day as I napped, and I ended up at the hospital to deliver the baby when I was only 32 weeks pregnant. At this point, things got really creepy. One night, the lady in white was in my hospital room caressing my hair. When I saw the doctors by the door getting my chart as they walked in, she hid behind the curtain, and I asked them if they had seen her, and they told me the meds did that to people. Oh. The only one who believed me was my dad, and he asked me to describe her. I proceeded to tell him about her short, curly blonde hair and her blue eyes, and then my father started to sob, and he said that I was describing my grandmother. The next day I did not see her, but I did see another entity at the foot of my bed 3 days in a row at exactly 5 a.m. Only this time it was a man. Surprisingly enough, he did not scare me. On the fourth day at 5 a.m., I felt what I could only describe as a tug of war. I felt many hands on either side of my body pulling and tugging so hard I didn't know what to make of it. And I remember holding the baby and elevating off the bed with my child still in my arms. This all happened in a matter of 4 weeks, and it was time for me to go home, and I sure was not ready for that. I felt uneasy as I got home, and sure enough, it was for a reason. Someone, or I should say a little boy, was waiting to greet me, but that is another story. Ooh, nice cliffhanger. And that's where it ends. That's not even nice. Well, turns out the other story is linked right here, so I'll read that now. Let's read it now. It says, this experience is a continuance from my journey back home from the hospital. And as I wrote in my last story, I felt very uneasy going home, and it wasn't until nightfall that I knew something was wrong, and I started to feel scared. I fell asleep, and I started to dream, and I was holding my baby. She was dressed in a white dress and a bonnet, and I was on a balcony. And as I looked down, it looked as if it were a bottomless pit. And I felt my baby put her hand on my face, and she pulled it towards her. And when I turned to see her, it was a little boy who then proceeded to choke me. And as I fought him, I threw him down. There was only darkness surrounding me. When he fell, I could hear him laugh. These dreams with this child continued for about 3 days. My mother rented an apartment next to hers, so I could have somewhere to live on my own. I moved out, and that same day, I began to hear a child crying. The next day, I took a nap, and it was about noon. The baby was also asleep, and I opened my eyes to see. When I opened my eyes to see her, I saw a little boy. He was so white with some sort of glow around him. He was watching me curiously, and I closed my eyes and opened them again to see if he was gone, but he was still there. I got up, and again I began to hear a child crying. Excuse me. And I followed this weeping sound, and it was coming from a closet. When I opened it, it stopped, and while this went on for some time, I decided I was going to name him Isaac. He did all sorts of things. Everyone was afraid of him, and I mean everyone, because he made his presence known to everyone in my family. We had a priest come and bless our home, but nothing happened, and he remained. I would clean my apartment, and when he cried, I would sing to him, and I could clearly hear him hum. He messed with the chairs in the dining room, and I always had to put them back, 3 times to be exact, before he would quit. He talked to me when I lay in bed trying to sleep, and I don't remember anything he said to me. And one day in December 1994, my family and I were at my apartment for a little get-together, and while we were having a conversation, my lamp turned on, and we all looked at each other. We already knew who it was, but I went to turn it off, and he turned it back on at this point. We left my apartment, and if I left, I could see him pull down the blinds to look out the window. When I came back, he did the same. About 4 months later, after about 4 months, this entity finally left. He left with a friend of the family in January, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He wasn't a believer, and he cursed this entity, and he mocked it. He said things like, "Send him home with me. I'll show him." And we stood in silence as he continued with his mocking and foul language. When it was time for him to leave, he pulled out his car. I saw the boy wave by to me, And I ran to Mom and told her what had happened. And then he was finally gone, and never did I see him again. But our friend did. He has moved twice since then, and the boy goes wherever they go. Nothing seems to stop him. Yeah, you don't mock the spirits. You don't do that. Hell, even Zach Baggins was dragged out of his own bed by unseen hands. This was back more towards the days when he used to taunt and torment and try to trigger spirits to respond like trained animals. Well, I guess they got tired of that and not to cast aspersions at Zach Baggins, but his approach used to be pretty aggressive. He used to be very aggressive with his approach, like, "Oh, come on out! You can't do that. You want to do something? Touch me. Show me how powerful you are. You're just weak." And sure enough, he started getting a couple follow him home, and apparently he dealt with some of those for quite a while. So you don't push the buttons. You don't push the buttons. So very cool story, though. I think that was really wonderful. Was it a demon? I don't think so. Was it a child? Not so convinced either. But it chose to be a child. I think the spirits can choose to be whatever they want. They can choose to appear however they want to appear. They can appear like a 9-foot monster or a cat or a mouse or whatever. I mean, or a little orb of light or anything in between. They can choose to appear how they died, so you can understand. And I think they do that to try to communicate that. Like, look at me, look what happened. This is how I died. Because they can't use words because you can't hear them. So they do a lot of symbolic things, I think. And so pretty interesting stuff. But, yeah, very, very interesting. Excuse me. So anyway, how are we doing for time? How are we doing? 37. So we got about 15 minutes left. Okay. This one is coming from Washington State. Just right next to me, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So it says, this happened to me maybe a year ago in the same house that I'm living in right now and have lived in for about 17 or 18 years. I'm almost 21. It was sometime in the morning and I decided to make myself a cup of tea, or coffee rather, which I rarely do, but it was just one of those mornings, and I put the coffee and water into the coffee maker and flicked the switch that starts to heat the water, knowing it was going to take a minute to get heated up. I left the kitchen and headed to our computer room to check my emails. After a while, I realized I had forgotten about my coffee, so I headed back to the kitchen, and you have to flick the switch again to make the coffee machine go from heat to the actual coffee making process. And when I got there, I realized the switch had already been pushed, and my coffee was waiting for me. Nice. I thought, well, maybe it does just do that on its own. So I called my mom and asked her if it does that, and she says no. And I asked my boyfriend if he came in and switched it on, and he said no. He doesn't know anything about coffee machines. With the knowledge that my house is haunted anyway, I had no one left to blame but our resident ghost. This has only happened that one time. The next events that has happened many times. This all started about 2 years ago, just like the rest of the house. The laundry room / garage was always giving me the creeps. The laundry room is located in a small room in what we call the far garage. We have two-car garages, and it's located in the farthest one. This far garage has always been the epicenter for creepiness. One day I was going out to switch the laundry from washer to dryer, and as I got there, I saw that both the washing machine and the dryer lids were open, mid-cycle. I just thought, okay, someone came out here looking for something and forgot to close them. I asked my mom and boyfriend if they'd been out there, and they both said nope. Well, it seemed kind of strange, and then it happened again. Both lids open, mid-cycle, nothing missing. Only this time, I had been home alone the entire time the clothes had been going. This happened maybe 4 or 5 times, and it's not that I left them open. The washing machine lid is located on the top, so it didn't fall open. Plus, they won't start unless the lids are shut, so I didn't forget to shut them. Nothing blatantly scary, just unsettling. I have yet one more story about the experiences I have in my home, and it really takes the cake out of all the scariness. Well, I guess we better get to it. Oh dear. I see the title. I see the title. Yeah. Yeah, this is creepy. This is creepy as hell. That's lovely. I get an ad. I get an ad popping up says, worried about fatty liver? What the hell? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe that's the universe telling me I got a fatty liver. I don't know what the hell. All right, so this is the same author again, and this is apparently the one story that takes the cake. So this happened about 3 years ago to my boyfriend at the time, but it occurred at our house, and he was taking a shower one afternoon, and as he said he saw someone walking around outside the window. There was a window in our shower, but instead of just glass, it's glass bricks, which if you've ever looked through, you can sort of see through them, but not clearly. It's very blurry. And anyway, he saw someone walking around back and forth through the window, and he said as they appeared, the water in the shower went cold for a second, like it does when someone turns on the faucet. Well, he got out of the shower and asked my mom if she had been outside, and she said no. And he then came into my room where I was, and he says to me, "That was pretty funny what you did with the water and all." There's a sink and faucet just located outside of where the shower window faces. I told him I had no idea what he was talking about. Well, he didn't believe me. It took him a couple of days before it settled with him that I was actually telling the truth, and that something weird had happened. A week or two later, a friend of ours came over, and while he was there, he decided to take a shower, and while he was in there, he reported the same exact thing. There was a person walking around out there, and when he walked by the shower, the water went cold. He didn't even know this was happening to my boyfriend. Now you might just think, well, maybe there was someone walking around out there. However, they both described this thing as completely black, like someone wearing a hood. You couldn't see any features. Our friend that took the shower said that whatever it was walked by a few times and then stopped and got up very close and stared into the window at him for a long time. And he thought it was just my boyfriend messing with him. And when we told him that what had happened a week prior, he started getting really creeped out. I asked him if he could see any features, and he couldn't. He stood in the shower, and I went outside to the other side of the window, and he realized you can make out the face of a person on the other side of the glass. He thought it was normal not to be able to see any actual features, and he thought it was normal for them to look completely blacked out like it was. He said whatever it was got very close to the window, and he leaned over the large counter and peered at him through the window. In order to do this, you pretty much have to be really tall and place your hands on the counter outside the window, which is very dirty, and there were no handprints there. After this, I pinned a towel over the window. I, for one, don't want to see what they saw. Ha ha. After stories like these, you can see why everyone is afraid of my house. Even people that I never mention anything to tell me they just don't want to be alone anywhere there. It gives the bravest of my friends the creeps just to smoke a cigarette outside, and they will smoke half and then run back in. They don't even know the stories. Ooh, they don't even know the kind of stuff going on down there. That is creepy. All right, then I got one more. I think one more should do it. Depends on how long the story is, but yeah. Should, unless it's really short. No, this is about a 8-minute story, I suppose. This one, ladies and gentlemen, is coming from Alabama. Thanks again, MCAT, man. That's really cool. You want to hear what else I don't got? I'm just kidding. I'm starting to feel a little better. So that's what the magic of the portal, ladies and gentlemen. It kind of heals me. It makes me feel stronger. All right, so we're gonna sorry, that was kind of a douchey thing to say. I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to panhandle in my own chat, but it did make me laugh, though. All right, Alabama. I know the title makes it sound like this is made up because the title is called Crybaby Bridge, and this is from Mississippi, apparently. But this is a true story about a crybaby bridge in Dennis, Mississippi. When I was 18, some friends and I were talking about this crybaby bridge. that if you went over it, you could hear a baby crying. My friends, who were also in their 30s, and I, being curious, we wanted to go check it out. So the next day, me and my friends, their 5-year-old and 2-year-old and another friend's kids, an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, decided to go. Well, first of all, if you're going to go check out scary stuff, don't bring kids. What the hell's wrong with you people? My God, that's horrible. You get a babysitter or something. I mean, Jesus, God. Oh. All right, anyway, when we got to the bridge, you had to get out and climb up on it because they took the road out that went all the way to it. We all climbed up on it, and it had old rusty rails, and the bridge was concrete. Sounds great for kids, by the way. Sounds like a freaking jungle gym. Also had sign hanging on it, but I can't remember what it said. Probably stay the hell out. Don't trespass. Not safe, maybe. Just throwing a few out there. Anyway, back to the story. We're up on the bridge, and we all felt a chill run through us. And it was the middle of summer, and we were up there for about an hour, and nothing was happening, so we decided to leave. As we were turning around to leave, my friend's 5-year-old said he heard a baby crying. I went to the end of the bridge where my friend and her husband were. I asked them if Ethan, their little boy, ever heard the story about the bridge. They both said no. So I told them what Ethan told me, and they asked him, and he told them the same thing he told me. He told them that he heard a baby crying, and his dad told him, no, he didn't, because there was no baby around. Well, Ethan started crying and said, Daddy, I do hear a baby crying, and it's down there on that rock. He pointed to the rock, and it was where it said the baby was supposed to have landed. So after he told us all of that, we all got into the vehicle and left, and we never did go back there. What I still wonder about all this time, could he have seen that baby down there on that rock? Could he have heard the baby crying? I know kids can hear and see things that we can't. Ethan's mom and dad told me later that day that they never talked about the bridge around Ethan, his sister, or the other kids, and the first time Ethan had seen that bridge was the day that we went. It is said that the woman who threw her baby over the rail did it because she had the baby and she wasn't married, and it was against her family's belief, and the baby landed on the rock that Ethan had pointed to. Ethan, the next day, to see if his story would change, that would give us any hint or sign that he was being funny or anything, and he told us the exact same thing that he told us the day before. I know this didn't happen to me, but I was there, and I heard Ethan, and I saw him point to the rock, and I even asked Ethan myself if he had ever heard the story about the bridge, and he said no. So you can choose to believe this or not, but everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and I respect that. Thank you for reading. Signed, Vicky. Well, thanks, Vicky, for entertaining us. Very weird, but yes, don't bring your kids on ghost hunts, even haunted bridges or whatever. I mean, come on. That's about as responsible as having them help you on a Ouija board. I mean, I don't know. You just don't do that. You don't know what you're going to encounter. You don't know what you're dealing with. Well, you don't drag vulnerable little people with you. That's not responsible at all. Anyway, what do you do? Joshua Marshall says it's in North Mississippi. Okay. Mississippi. Yeah, I used to live on the banks of the Mississippi River my whole life, so but it's tragic if it's true. I know that there's so many of those babies getting thrown over the bridge. It's kind of the same as the river monsters where the divers go down to inspect for the footings of the bridge and see the big shark-like fish and any other numbers of them. Oh, the haunted hotels where the jilted bride or bride-to-be was left standing at the altar and throws herself out a window. I mean, so many hotels around the country have that story. So is the Crying Baby Bridge thing just another one of those chains where there's an old bridge and, well, that's a great story and might, get people. Well, so once people believe something, does it become real? And I think it does to a degree. I think it really does. I think that The Slender Man thing is now real to a degree because kids believed it was real. I think that, a lot of things become real because they are believed to be real. So we are manifestors, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that thoroughly. But I don't know. Come to your own conclusions, of course. I don't ever mean to think for everybody, but these are just my impressions. But I really fundamentally believe that we manifest our experience. We certainly manifest our beliefs. We certainly do. If you believe that an object is holy and righteous and sacred, that object becomes holy, righteous, and sacred. If you believe that there are spirits watching over you, there are probably spirits watching over you. If you believe that you are loved, then you probably are. And maybe it's just a glorified self-love. Maybe it's a real divine love. I don't know. It's up to you to define that. If you believe there is a rapture coming, then for you there is. Whatever. It's subjective because we are manifesting our reality. And there's also group manifestations. So when you have whole bodies of people believing something, then that magnifies it even more and it becomes more real. If you believe in certain political views, they are real for you. They are absolutely real. If you don't believe in those political views and believe on the other side, then those are absolutely real for you. And, there are people that I think are preying on the fact that we manifest our reality. And they want us to create these realities. So be very careful what you choose to believe. And be very careful where you allow yourself to draw inspiration on your beliefs. I think that always we have to be our own litmus tests. Don't ever take anything that comes to you as your own until you've tested it, until you've challenged it, until you've quantified it on your own morality or your own belief system. Because there are lots of people right now that are getting so supercharged emotionally over what they believe. And when belief becomes a weapon, it becomes scary. And people that believe in something will do pretty much whatever it takes, and that becomes scary. So just be careful what you believe and from whom you believe. Don't believe anything from anywhere. Don't ever read anything and believe it. No matter what side of issues you're on, don't just listen to something and go, "Oh, that's what the truth is." Don't, because if we've learned anything in recent history, in recent happenings, everybody should be blatantly aware that there is a propaganda war going on. And I'm not saying one side or the other. I'm not telling you what my beliefs are. I know what my beliefs are, and I really believe that what I'm following is the truth. But so does everybody else. And so just be careful, ladies and gentlemen. We are divinely empowered beings. We all have a spark of divinity in us, and therefore we are creators. And be careful what you're allowing other people to confuse you into creating. Because there are lots of people that are preying on that right now. Lots of groups of people are preying upon that right now to create social conditioning to cause people to, do their bidding. So don't be fooled. Don't believe anybody. Don't believe anybody. Just do your research and find your truth. But, just my 2 cents. I'm just really concerned because I see the blatant lies going on right now, and it really concerns me, really, really concerns me. And the amount of people that are willing to just wholeheartedly jump behind those things, and it's scary. And again, I'm not saying what side of the situations I'm on. I'm not on any side. I'm on my own side. I've come to my own conclusions about this after doing lots of investigating on my own. So, but believe what you will. But just don't ever turn on a freaking TV and go, "Oh, now I'm pissed about that." Don't ever do that, because there are people that are preying upon you to do that. They are setting the stage. They are brilliant marionettes and distractions, and there's brilliant manipulations going on right now. There's a lot of forked tongues out there. So just be really careful. My 2 cents, take it or leave it, whatever. But anyway, guys, I love you all very much. You guys take care of yourself and be good. Keep your light shields up. It's pretty dark out there. And I love you all. And I will be back tomorrow night with more of the Paranormal Portal. It's Friday tomorrow, isn't it? Jeez. It is. So I'll be back for 2 hours of paranormal fun tomorrow night. I hope you'll join me. Phone lines will be open. Call in. In fact, between now and then, your homework is to remember the most spookiest, craziest paranormal thing you ever saw in your life, right? And you're going to pick up the phone tomorrow, and you're going to call it. You're going to call 720-923-0500, and you're going to tell us about it, okay? All right, then. That's your homework. All right, guys, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to smile and laugh as much as you can. All right, guys. Good night, everybody, and sweet dreams.